is a fireside chat on navigating the remote work transition, safeguarding client confidentiality in a modern workspace. For this, I would like to first invite Mr. Hemant Kanani, Vice President Delivery Excellence and Transformation from Mphasis. Mr. Hemant has 24 plus years of global experience in partnering with clients in areas of management consulting, business processes, and technology advisory. He is currently heading transformation practice at Mphasis and enabling delivery excellence for global services portfolio. His responsibilities also include governance and ongoing service level improvement year by year. And I would like to invite our second speaker, Mr. Sagar Malviya, Lead Growth Officer from RemoteDesk. Can we hear a huge round of applause for them?
So we are going to touch base a very crucial point here in terms of how to ensure the confidentiality. Myself, Sagar from RemoteDesk, and we'll be covering navigating to remote work is one thing, definitely. In one of the previous session, someone has talked about security enhancement. We also we discussed about that there is a hybrid shift that's going to take place. Now, in these scenario, how you will ensure that if employees are working from home, how do you ensure confidentiality and security of the data? And most of the organization have implemented different security tools, I would say accountability tools as well, where you have analytics, workforce analytics, and other things. But how do you ensure environmental security? So employees is not in office, and there are no checks in terms of the environment. Like what someone could be doing shoulder surfing, someone can just capture something through a mobile phone, and it could be confidential data. So how do you trust that confidence from the client? So we're going to discuss on those points. So I'll request Hemant to share his experience in terms of navigating to remote work. So Hemant, if you could like to just give a bit of background, what is it from your client side as well? So, yeah.
So hello, good afternoon, everyone. So this is a topic that became kind of extreme need for us when we entered into the pandemic. And as a nature of business, Mphasis works with investment banking firms or banking firms on the credit card side of the business, etc. And as you know, what we call as PII data is we deal with extremely sensitive information like that. Now, some of our largest customers did not want us to stop operations, but at the same time came that the mandatory lockdown, and then lockdown actually created a situation of panic because we couldn't have not delivered beyond that what we were signed up to do so. So this was kind of a very urgent situation where we started to look around and said, how do we make sure that what we do at office in an extremely secure environment can be done at home? And for some of you, also might be dealing with banks and PII data, who that we have Odyssey kind of environment, where if, for example, if I as an employee, and even if I am the ops manager, I still have to go inside without pen, paper, laptops, like literally everything. They like sniff you like they do on the airport. So now imagine that the same employee who has been sent inside with all the security check is now working from home. So like he said, anyone can take a picture of the screen, and I have the account numbers, and you have a huge approval authorities. Now, there is a saying that says that in the digital world, if you do a big theft, obviously you will eventually get caught. That's not the problem BPO companies are facing. That's a safety measure from the customer side, that their money is not going anywhere. But what happens to a small BPO companies like ours is that our reputation is at stake, right? It'll just come in the newspaper, it'll go all over the internet that there was a security incident at this particular place, and that's it. Now, beyond that, selling obviously will become extremely difficult, and obviously we have signed up for the security in our contracts, etc. So therefore, we evaluated almost 7 tools that possibly can help us. We were not sure whether we'll ever enter into that, but kind of a POC, and RemoteDesk was one of them. And obviously, we are working with the RemoteDesk now, from that story till now. It's been 2 years. And obviously, we'll share more as we go forward. But yeah, that's the reason we were forced to look at work from home solution. Making sure that the data is extremely secure and no one else is basically shoulder surfing or using mobile phone or writing down or even dictating. Remember, sometimes you can even dictate silently. So even if you are capturing your voice from the mic, you can still tell something else. So all those things, we did a huge, like a very detailed POC, and of course these guys were.
Yeah, thanks, Hemant. So definitely, like when we talk about having a webcam on, right? You feel it's intrusive, right? So Hemant, you must have faced challenges in terms of privacy aspect of employee, or as well as not only privacy, I would say security as well, because that's a biometric data of employees.
Yeah.
So how the security team or privacy team, like what were the hurdles that you faced in terms of like when you just in the initiation of this curve implementing such tool?
So obviously, when we were evaluating this, like they say, the whole village comes together. So we had a legal team evaluating it from the legal point of view. We had the CIO team who did all the tech due diligences, and then we had the ops team doing it. So from the privacy point of view, of course, Indian law is very specifically sensitive about minors in the house. So let's say an employee is working from home and my camera is constantly on for 8 hours or whatever number of hours I'm working. During that time, if by chance or by mistake or however, if I capture some minor, obviously then we go the whole circle round, right? So HR says that we need to have a kind of an agreement where people provide their consent. But the law still says that any minor, let's say, who's exposed in this video, and later anyone from the family has a problem, the company will still be liable to answer that, because it's still illegal in a sense. So therefore, we worked with all these companies and tried to give them as a requirement. So now we have a feature that imposter is being detected, but it detects is less than like literally in a second. So if somebody comes around the screen gets off, and camera switches off, which means that will not be recorded. And the second level, as a configuration, is possible that we blur the screen, as you're aware, right? So we can blur a person, and therefore that person, the minor, most probably wouldn't come. Now, obviously, there are sometimes system glitches, or depending on the internet connectivity, because all this is happening in real time, which means that I'm sending about, if I'm technically right, some 4 frames a second or some, anyway. So yeah, technically is not important, but few frames of images we are sending back to the cloud, who's evaluating and sending back. So sometimes in India, again, everybody doesn't have a great internet connectivity. So we had to make sure that we give enough internet to that employee so that these kind of glitches are avoided. But that's how we dealt with the legal side of the law. But yeah, and then other thing, we came up with the best practices. So which means that we started to spread awareness among the employee that it's very important how you place your laptop or computer in your house. Like for example, if in a house like this, if you put your computer, and most of us do that, right? The computers are facing a wall, and therefore it is actually able to see the whole house. So we spread that as an awareness that you should put it facing the wall, and therefore you are sitting in front of it, and therefore anyone in your house, because people will move around in the house, will not come in that camera. So mix of both, the legal view, the CIO views, or technical adjustments, plus a lot of employee awareness is how we navigated through this.
Sure. Thanks. Even just to put more stress on the privacy aspect of it. So we do have organizations which are based in Europe and saying we have users which are. So how do we deal with such scenarios? So we have a mechanism where we just detect a non-compliance activity. Now, when I say non-compliance activity, it's the evidence of image person holding a phone, or someone is actually looking, doing the shoulder surfing. So that data is getting captured. And what we do is, what data is getting captured, right? So we show that image to the employee. and ask them if it's a genuine or it's not genuine. And at the same time, if a non-employee comes in the picture, whether if it's a minor, we blur that area. So it's from the technology itself, while showcasing that picture to the employee. Now let's say in some scenario, let's say a data which is captured which is not liked by employee. So we have a data retention control by the organization itself. So they can view the data, what is getting captured, and what data is getting read, that visibility is also available for the employees. So we provide those information to employees. So it's a win-win situation for both organizations, where they would employees would like to have a hybrid model where they can work from office and work from home anytime. So moving on, so we talked about legal security challenges, HR challenges. During implementation, what were the hurdles that you have faced within the organization, considering communication to employees, having a consent?
So this is an interesting thing, and the transition that anyone comes because of the situation. When I first time heard that there is a tool like that, I didn't want to even talk about it, because I was putting myself right there and thinking that what if my camera is constantly on and watching me while I'm working. So I was against it, and I said, look, I don't think I want to be part of this, and this is ridiculous. We shouldn't be ever doing it. But then when we understood that the situation is going to stay, right? This was not for short term, that we saw that pandemic is just going to stay, and it will only mean that we'll have to just say no to our customers, and therefore we had to start to evaluate that. And then, so in the initial period, yes, we had a lot of resistance from the evaluating committee itself. Then it reached the HR committee, and then finally when it went to employee, most of them, they just said blindly that we won't subscribe to it. And we saw that possibility of literally mass resignations and things like that. So therefore we did a POC. That was kind of eye-opener for all of us, that when we did the POC, few employees volunteered for that. I myself volunteered for that, and I started to use it. We saw what's being recorded, what's not, and how the system is actually reacting to it. And is it actually doing what it is telling me? Like sometimes the tech says that I will not record when somebody comes behind you and it stops, but we wanted to make sure it happens, right? And it happens all across the board. So we tested that, and finally, if I can tell you that today we are at a situation where in some of the accounts where we have implemented this, even if the customer says that now we are moving back to office, we'll have people who will resign, actually the other way around, because they are saying that I'm so fine with it, because here when I work from home, it's 8 hours and it's all over 8 hours. I don't have to travel after that, I don't have to go anywhere and things like that. So yeah, we still have employees, I wouldn't lie, we still have employees, and if you still ask me personally also, if I'm being monitored, I'll still have doubts whether I want to do it or not. But that's not what we are discussing from the tech point of view, and from the employee experience point of view. We have actually almost 90% of the employees who are saying that we would want to stay because of this, and we are happy to do that. Because even at office, I have to work at 8 hours. I mean, this way or that way. So why not here? And then at least I'm done with it. So yeah, it is difficult but doable.
Yeah, indeed. So how the business got impacted after this? Like in terms of a business, were there any tangible and non-tangible benefits?
So both. Initially, there was a break because we were evaluating and we couldn't deliver to the customer. Yeah. So some customers did give us, some mercy and said that for the lockdown period it's fine, but later than that no, and things like that. So mix of that. But in the long run now, what we have started to do is that we are into, and many companies are already doing, not just us, is the hybrid contracting. So we are already agreeing with the customer that what percentage of workforce will constantly work from office. And what we have done is we have given a flexible kind of facility to the employees. Therefore, we have rostering where people can choose which week in a month I will come to office. So therefore, we have rotation because majority is working from home. And then we have a week where people rotate and come to office. So that's how we have balanced.
Yeah, I think it just got ranked. So we'll open to question, and like if any queries, any questions.
Yes, no?
So we'll take it as a no.
Yeah,
Behind laptop.
yeah. So I'll answer that. So we evaluated both the systems. We evaluated with a dome camera, but dome camera ends up taking literally all your house or room. And in India, we did not have a situation where, because we asked employees that would you like that or would you like this? So obviously everybody chose this because most of them don't have that kind of a room that can be closed and a dome camera can look at it. So how we have mitigated to that is that even if I whisper, the tool can capture that I'm trying to talk. So it's very simple. My role doesn't require me to talk. I just have to do my work. I don't need to call anyone. I don't need to. So therefore, mic is also on unless it's a contact center. So there we have a different solution. But we're talking about the processes where we are dealing with the PII and all that stuff. So therefore, mic is also on. And even if I try to, even if somebody's standing behind, I'll have to tell them the numbers, right? Like account number if I want to do a fraud. So I'll have to speak up. If I speak up, it will stop. If I even pick up my mobile phone, it will stop. If somebody comes behind, it will stop. If I put my hand in front of the camera, it will stop. So any situation, even the pen and paper, in situations if you have a high, so we have specification when we put a camera. So if you use the HD, it has a more coverage. So even pen and paper use, you can stop. But again, like I said, it's this is not 100%, okay? But so far we have not had any security incidents for these basic issues. There can be, like for example, there are sometimes low light in the house. We even configured that and we have put it to that camera is off. But then people say sometimes they are working in night shift. They say we have only one room and everybody's sleeping. So if I can work in the night with a small light, you have to allow that. So that kind of practical issues still remain.
So yeah, thanks, Hemant. I have one last question. In terms of a company culture, like, do you see like how employees reacted, or if you want to talk a bit about company culture, do they see something which is concerning, or how's their response?
Well, so mainly people appreciated the fact that everybody came together to search a solution rather than going through a kind of a crisis situation where we would have had to let people go, or we would have had to shut down a particular account and things like that. So people did appreciate that, and yeah, in a long run, like I would say, even ops, we had a lot of resistance from the ops team, because remember the ops managers are also subscribing to all these things, and they are able to see every day what their team is doing, how much they have done, how much they have not done. One part of the feature that I think none of us touched upon, apart from the data privacy, is also time management system. So by default, because there is a camera, there is a system, we are able to track what a person is doing, right? So going through a website, for example, which is blacklisted and things like that. So people understood why we are doing it, because we had to do a lot of sessions to tell them that this is not a policing system. We are implementing this as a deterrent right now. And obviously, in the best situation also, I can never stand up and say that it's 100% done and nothing can happen. But that's a risk the CIO office and the CTO office basically approved for the whole continuity and stuff like that. So that's where I would.
Yeah, thank you.
Balancing factor.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for your
Cool.
time.